Morning, Francis. How you doing, buddy?
Doing great, doing great. How about you, Matt?
Fantastic. We've been reading the maritime news lately and came up with something pretty far out. Up here in New York, they just unearthed at the end of May, uh, JFK's John F. Kennedy's former president of the U.S. His PT boat, one of the PT boats that he commanded, which was PT 59, which had been sunk along the Harlem River in 208th Street or thereabout, and was just unearthed as the MTA, the Metropolitan Transit Authority, was getting ready to build a seawall. Can you believe that?
Jeez, this really thought we knew everything about that guy. I actually never got really like I never really read anything about the boats. So when I heard about it, I started looking into it. So there's two, right? There's one that's private and one that was military.
Okay, so no, but the PT 109 was sunk. That was one of JFK's that earlier commands as a
Mm.
lieutenant. That was sunk when it was hit by a destroyer, Japanese destroyer in the Battle of the Solomon Straits, and that's what earned him a lot of recognition. The rescue of his crew, and how he got his crew to safety by towing some of them, by life saving, and all of that. This boat, PT 59, you're right, ended up as a civilian boat at the end, but it was a military PT boat during World War II, then ended up being surplused into civilian hands and ended its life actually with no engines as a houseboat in Manhattan, which is an amazing thing considering the power these boats had and how fantastic they were at what they did. Ended up a school teacher was living on it as its final days of life.
How were PT boats constructed again? They were used in World War II and what capacity?
So they were torpedo boats. They were
Okay.
designed to carry a few torpedoes and conduct hit and run attacks on convoys. So they would have, I believe, 4 to 6 torpedoes. I could be off. I'd have to double check, maybe 3 to 4. And a crew of 7 or 8, including engineer, captain. They'd have guns on board, and they would go out at night. They were used a lot in the English Channel against the Germans, but also against the Japanese in the Philippines and the Solomons. They'd go out generally at night or at dawn, look for shipping, and launch a few torpedoes and speed away. They were generally a wooden hull construction, so mines wouldn't activate them, and torpedoes with magnetic tracking wouldn't have as easy of an ability to find them. And launch a torpedo or two, get the heck out of Dodge, which is fascinating because really they had limited engagement capability, but the ones that survived go out, come back, reload, go out again for more.
Oh, interesting. Okay. And where did they find it again? They found it in the river, right?
They found it in the Harlem River in an area called North Cove, which is around 207th Street in the what we call the Inwood area of Manhattan. The MTA is putting up a seawall because if you remember during Hurricane Sandy, New York in 2012 was just wrecked. Our infrastructure, especially subways and coastal areas, were decimated. So the MTA is putting up a seawall to protect that area where the train yards are, and this was unearthed. Now people knew about the 59. It had ended its life sitting there on the Harlem River in that area when it was abandoned by its last owner because he couldn't afford to upkeep it and no one wanted to buy it and upkeep it. Because, a museum piece like that, although fantastic, is expensive to upkeep. There's only one operating PT boat that I know of in the US as a museum piece, which is at the National World War II Museum in New Orleans, Louisiana.
That's what I was going to
So
ask. Isn't there like some sort of an institution in the United States that buys these things up and puts them up like as historical objects? Isn't
there's
there?
no major institution. A lot of it is left to individual museums. Now, the World War II Museum is a national institution. It's a national museum, but their funds are limited. They can't buy every boat. And this museum only started about 10 to 15 years ago. I'd have to double check. But this PT boat was sunk in the 70s to 59.
Now, JFK being an ex-president, doesn't he have a library, a presidential
He
library?
does. He does have his
So,
own
so,
library.
so they should be the ones actually to bring it in. I mean, like it would actually be something that they would have to do, right?
Well, if they wanted to, once again, this is an expense, and there's not much left to it. Unlike the Great Lakes here in the U.S. and other freshwater bodies of water, the Harlem River is salt water, and this boat sunk in the mud for 30 years
No, no,
plus.
no. Yeah.
Most of the wood rotted away. So there's some metal framing left and a
Hmm.
few mounts, a little bit of wood, but not much is left to really do anything with. I'm sure at this point someone will take it and preserve it, probably either the JFK Library or the World War II Museum, because it would look great in a preservation tank on display, like the first
Yeah.
submarine, the Hunley, which is in South Carolina. But there's not much to really see if you look at the images, and I'll post links at the end of the video for anybody who's interested.
What was the length of the ship again? Like how many people can accommodate?
So
Of the boat,
I
sorry, the boat.
believe a typical PT accommodated around 8 to 10 people, about.
Yeah.
They weren't equipped with a lot of sleeping quarters. They weren't meant for long hauls. They were stationed in a particular area. They'd go out, come back in. Now there are cases where they were used for longer transit, such as MacArthur's escape from the Philippines to Australia.
Oh,
Something the
okay.
PT boats were not designed for, but they accomplished the mission. However, their range was limited.
Interesting. And they mostly use what kind of outboard motors, or they had inboard motors?
Inboard motors. Inboard
Inboard
motors.
motors.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. So I mean, JFK being who he was, and apparently he partied a lot. Um,
That I can't attest to. Know nothing about that. I'm not a JFK historian. I do know that his actions as a lieutenant in the Navy are what first gained him national recognition. He was considered a war hero prior
yeah.
to anything having to do with his political career. He was a war hero. His rescue of his crew during the PT-109 and the Battle of Solomon Islands was phenomenal. And the fact that this piece of history was found, I myself, as you know, I'm on the board of directors of a maritime museum here in New York. I find it fascinating. I wish we could take this piece on. We don't have the facilities to do that, but something like this is really a national treasure.
Yeah, even if you got only a portion of it, even if you only got like the keel or something like that.
Well, you want to keep as much intact as you can. You want to something like this. You want to keep together. You don't want to split into pieces. Then it becomes more like a trinket in my eyes.
Mm. What would it take to bring it? I mean, like, have they already tried to bring it up, or is it
So
just
they've
only been found?
successfully brought up a portion of it. I don't know where everything stands as far as how much has been found and brought up, but what they've found, they've brought up so far. This was as of last week. So what's happening with the remains has yet to be seen.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I like to see it. There's actually a lot of things like that happening all over the world right now. A lot of new discoveries and stuff like that. But since we're keeping it short, we're not going to go into this.
That's for another day.
And that's for another day.
I do know this, that because of the COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of maritime museums, especially here in the US, are suffering.
Yeah, I can see that.
A lot of the private for-profit museums have been closing their doors. In fact, the Mystic Art Gallery in Connecticut has just announced that their maritime art gallery is closing.
Yeah, that's where what's the word I'm looking for? Eccentric collectors come in. Eccentric collectors who have a lot of money come in.
Exactly. Or, what happens oftentimes is when one museum closes, they'll give their pieces to other museums and distribute them, or take the whole collection on the road and have it as a traveling exhibit and get some money for it.
So we
These
might
things
see
do happen.
actually an expansion of we might see an expansion of larger museums like the Museum of Modern Art, things like that. Big museums will get bigger, and small museums will phase out a little bit.
I think you might see that, but especially in the maritime realm, because maritime history is a very niche subject. People like you and I love it, but you're not getting a large draw from others.
By the way, just like a little bit of Caribbean news, Carnival Cruise Lines just sold 6 of its ships last week,
Wow.
and
Wow.
TUI Cruise Lines and Royal Caribbean did a joint venture to buy up a third party, which is Hapag-Lloyd Cruises.
Really? That's fascinating.
So there are there's some big moves happening.
Well, it makes sense when you think about it. Hapag-Lloyd is traditionally a cargo carrier, and although the cruise market has been a great market for several years, it's going to be a long struggle for recovery for that market. And if they can divest themselves of those ships and just focus on their traditional market, all the better for them.
Yeah, I hope it works out for 'em. I guess this is it for this one, right?
Absolutely. I'm going to post some links here at the end for everybody who wants to see them, and we'll see you next time.
All right, you guys take care. Have a good day.
You too.